Hello guys, what's up? My name is Kelvin and welcome to this tutorial. I'm about to show you guys how to make something nice, okay? And I don't usually do like a full video, but I don't cut because I'm very bad in English. Again, not very bad, but English is like my fourth language. So I usually speak Bemba, Swahili, Nyanja maybe sometimes. I'm from Zambia. So I know like four languages, that is Bemba, Nyanja, Swahili, and English as last. So I'm going to mess up some words and stuff like that. So uh, just bear with me and try to get the information, not the accent, or try not to get lost with my accent. Try to see what I'm doing, not what I'm saying. Alright, so we are going to start with this image, which is this one for the spaceman. And then one thing we need to do now is we just need to extend the image. So we just go on the edges here. Alright, something like this. Okay, and then let's just say generative fill. All right, so we have the image extended. So we have like generative fill. The image is extended. We just need to pick which one we want to go with. I feel like any of these, either way, because we're going to get rid of those cables and then pick something of our own. Okay, so we have the cables, and then let's just go here and then say select subject. Later when it's finished. Okay, loading. All right, make sure you click on clouds if you're using a paid version. I don't think the free version has this feature, but if it does, just make sure you're on clouds here, and then it will select mostly like everything like smoothly, without missing a spot or anything like that. Maybe it did miss a spot here, but we can fix that by just doing something like this. Oh, by the way, I'm using a drawing tablet, so if you don't have that, you can still use the mouse. It still works the same. Okay, so we're just going to like duplicate this, and then we have like this selected on its own. All right, so now we just need to like convert it into a smart object. So since we've converted it into a smart object, now let's get rid of everything here. So we're just going to like select, we don't need these cables. All right, just a moment, I'm still getting a hang of this drawing tablet, or maybe the sense is just too high, I think. Something like this, I think that's pretty much okay for me. I think this is pretty much okay. Now we just need to like control and then go on generative fill, and then just click on generate, and then it's going to generate the image, and then we wait again. Okay. All right, so generative fill has done its job. We have even options here. You can choose, it always gives three options. Okay, three options always. And then you can even add more if you're not satisfied. You can just click generate again to generate another three options, but I think I'm pretty much satisfied with this. So we have the spaceman floating here, okay, and then we have like the background and stuff like that. Okay, but one thing we forgot is, let's just click something like this and then go back here and deselect, copy the same image, and then go back here. All right, and then once you go back here, all right, I think I'm making noise, man. All right, and now we'll go back here, and then we bring back the same image, which is this one. And then one thing you need to do now is, let's now get the chains, like the chains. I have like a lot of like stock images on my computer. Sometimes I forget that I do have those, but sometimes I remember. Like if it's new, I would definitely remember it very soon. Okay, but if it's something I like I stored in my computer like for a long time, I don't know if that's how you say it, but if it's just something that I had in my computer for like a long period of time, I usually forget. But these changes, I recently downloaded these like this year, but not recently, as in maybe a week, nah, maybe like some months ago, maybe 2 or 4, some other. All right, and then so we have this, and then let's duplicate another one, and then let's duplicate the third one, which would be here, and then it's going to like stay somewhere like here, like so. Okay, and then let's get this one again, rotate it nicely like so, and then get all 3 of these, and then Control J on your keyboard, select, flip them like so, and then drag them here. Okay, something like this. All right, so I just did this in advance, and then you start doing them manually. If you want, you can just leave these chains like this. Okay, I'll definitely share the chains, so you can leave them like this, or you can like align them according to how the cables were aligned here. But I think let's just leave it like that, because I don't feel it will change anything if we try to align it according to how the cables are. Let's just try to like just rotate them, just rotate the cables and stuff, or just rotate the chains like this. Right, I think let's check this out a bit like so. Okay, let's see how. Okay, someone like here, I think this is nice. And then take this one. Sorry, oh yeah, we only needed this for reference purpose, so now it's done. Let's just delete it. Right, and then let's go back here, do something like rotate it somewhere like here, and then press OK, somewhere like here, and then yeah, and even this one there. Okay, somewhere like here, and then the other thing that we need to do is let's group these again inside here, and then say chains. One thing I don't love is having like a filters being clipped outside the group, so I would rather like have another group inside, so that I clip everything inside, so that when I close this, everything will be minimal here. Like we won't have like a lot of things running around, you know what I mean. All right, so we'll go inside here, and then on this same group, let's just say color lookup, and then let's try to do edgy ember. So edgy ember give you like a god vibe, okay, something like god. In fact, I think that's the main purpose of edgy ember, you know, because there is no other purpose for it except this. Okay, there is maybe, but it mostly gives a god feel, you know, a god feel. Not like a god like god, no, like a god color feel, you know. So if you're trying to make anything god, just try to use it. You see, it's very useful. Okay, and then let's just select the bag, and then once you select the bag, you can take it back there. I want him to hold the bag. This is a Louis Vuitton bag. Alright, this is a very expensive bag, I think. Alright, so we have the bag selected. Let's just add a layer mask, convert it into a smart object, and then take this and then drag it here, and then I'm going to place it somewhere like here, drag it on top here, flip it. I think in this way it aligns nicely, and then let's just put it in his hands like so. Okay, somewhere like here. Okay, something like that. I think this is pretty much nice. Okay, and then group him, and then just call the group him. Okay, like him, and then this one will be called the bag, so this one will call bag. Okay, and then another thing that we need to do now is group this, and then we say act. So the reason why I'm calling it act, because this is what the action is being made. All right, so we say act, and then One thing that we need to add again is the texture for the Louis Vuitton, this one. All right, and then let's go to the shoes side, and then let's just resize this somewhere like here. Okay, and then let's change the blending mode to something that will fit. Okay, so something that will fit. Let's try to see which one will fit. I think highlight, this one fits nicely. Okay, and then add a layer mask somewhere like here. Now the other thing that we need to do is let's just erase mostly this part so that it looks more smoothly and nicely done, and then erase even this the lower side of the shoes, the lower area. I mean, I don't know how you call the lower area of the shoes in English, but yeah, just erase that. Okay, and the base, yeah, the base of the shoe. I think the base makes sense. I've heard this word before. All right, the base, and then we should leave it like that. Okay, so let's now like reduce the opacity a bit. So we have like a Louis Vuitton thing floating here. All right, so this is a specimen again. So let's go to the bag again and add a layer mask, and then let's try to use the brush instead of the eraser. I think the brush has the best properties for now, even though they have similar properties. They're just like oppositely. So when it's black here, the brush usually erase, but if it's the eraser, it's paint. So it's that simple. That's the only difference between the brush and the eraser. All right, and then let's go here and open up a new layer, and then go on the brush again. Use the soft pressure brush. Okay, so let me just do it like that. So I want the hard, soft, sorry, and then just paint here, and then say black, and then change the blending modes to overlay, and then reduce the opacity to something like this. Okay, and then the other thing now we need to do is go here on top again. Use the color white, and then just paint on top here, something like that, and then reduce the opacity, and then also paint here. Okay, and then paint a bit here, and then change it to overlay, and then you should have something like this. So we have from this to that. So it's showing like on the upper side it's lighter than on the lower side. Okay, now the other side, the other thing now we need to do is let's just hide the back, and then go here and then say levels. So I love working with levels, or you can work with curves, but let's just work with levels for now, and then don't make it black all the way, just leave it a bit somewhere there, and then invert the layer mask. So, and then let's use this soft round pressure size brush. And this one, the reason why I'm using this one is because I'm using the drawing tablets. If you're not using the drawing tablets, I highly recommend you use the soft round brush. Okay, so this one works with pressure. So if I click harder, then it will paint like something big. If I click with the low pressure, it won't paint with, like, the brush will be small. I mean, right? Okay, and then something like that. Okay, and then let's just paint some of the areas here where the shadow should be. Okay, and then even here. Oh, we used to clip this in. Okay, you need to clip it in the first place. Okay, so then just do something. So we have the shadows ready. Okay, we have the shadows ready. Just make them randomly until they make sense according to you, but we're still going to like touch them again. So for now, let's just firstly balance up everything before we even rush to conclusions. Okay, so everything here is not done yet. Okay, so we open up a new group, and then we call it filters. Okay, and then inside filters we are going to play around firstly with soft soft warming look, which is this one. I love this one because it's just balance up the colors and stuff, you know, everything in order. So don't worry, the colors will get back to this, but even much better, right? So this is just the starting point where I start like editing most of my things, and then duplicate it and then change it to 3 stripes. After 3 stripes, then duplicate it again. Let's try to use drop blue, and then you should have something like this. So from that to this, okay. And then the other thing that we need to do is let's just reduce the gold on the chains. I think it's too much. It's too much. Okay, and someone like, I think this is pretty much fine for me. Okay, and then we leave it like that, and then down the filters, let's open up another one, and then let's just say fog. So this is where we apply the fog. For those of you who don't know the fog, fog is like, okay, most of you know the fog, so I'm not going to explain much about fog. So fog is like, it gives the design mostly like to feel alive, you know, to feel like it's real, like the person was there, you know. It feels so real, to the point whereby it just makes sense mostly in designing. You know, it needs to be more creative when designing these types of things. So it needs to have the fog, it needs to have what, blah blah blah, and then let's now add a gradient. So the gradient, going to make it more like a vignette. Okay, so just multiply. We all know how multiply works. It removes everything that is light and then only remain with the dark things. Okay, so let's just remove it a bit up here where the subject is. Okay, where the subject is, like heat being here, so we need to move it somewhere here, and then press OK on your keyboard. Now on this stage, now let's go here on the layer mask, add, oh, the layer mask is already there, so let's just say the brush and then make it 100%. We want to erase the middle part. Okay, so we just want to erase the middle part, and then the rest of the area will remain dark like that. And then from this stage, now the other thing that we need to do is I have this image of like a plan of like the moon, like the moon is on fire, you know. Just going to like select it manually. Honestly, I'm not sure what's going on, but my PC performs slow nowadays, you know. So I'm just going to do it manually. So I'm going to do it like so. So this is the technique I learned somewhere like a long time ago on YouTube, I think, or maybe I think it was on Facebook. I think it was a reel someone was playing around with. I think I learned this skill before even reels came out, like before reels were like a thing, like watching reels. I think I watched this, how to make this someone. If I remember, I'll mention it, but for now let's just continue editing. All right, let's put them on here, let's center it, and then let's drag this all the way high like so, and then let's say we put this like, let's change this to color, something like that. Okay, for now let's keep it that side. Okay, we're going to make it glow, we're going to make it look nice and stuff like that, but for now let's focus on the main thing, which is the main which is the person who is in front here. So let's just say add contrast, because we don't have any contrast. Brightness a bit somewhere like here, so that we see everything what is going on here. And then let's just hide this and the filters, because they're disturbing the backgrounds. And then let's hide this, and let's even hide the chains. Okay, let's now play around with the background so that we see what's going on and what is not going on. All right, let's bring this back like so, and then duplicate it. Let's just go here and then say blur, and then Gaussian blur. Okay, so on Gaussian blur, I'm just going to like increase it like so, change this to screen, something like that, and then duplicate it again. You're going to have something like this. And then not screen, now we're going to change this to light, and Okay, lighten and screen, they're very different. Lighten, it's specific, it's strict light things only. Nothing like it's a little bit lighter. No, light skins only, or light, not light skins, light things only. So I did say English is my fourth language. I think if I didn't mention that English is my fourth language, so I'm going to mess up some words and stuff like that and shit. Okay, so let's bring back everything here. And then we're going to have something like this, and then let's go here on top here, and then let's say color balance. Okay, so color balance, we need to have a little bit of yellow, just a bit, and then a little bit of red somewhere like here. And then once we have these, now let's go back here. We did open up a new layer, right? So on this new layer, just go here and then say hue and saturation, and then before we even click on this new layer, we're just going to say colorize. Yeah, I've pronounced it right. And then just increase it like that, and then change it to this, something like this. Yeah, and then increase it like so. Yeah, this is pretty much, let's see. Yeah, let's leave the glow like that, the way it was. And then change this into like, change the layer mask, invert it, and then start painting it later on. Let's say, what's going on? Right, something like, what's going on? Okay, let's just reduce the opacity, it was too much. Then the flow, somewhere like 50. Okay, and then something like this. Yeah. All right, so with that being done, now the other thing that we're supposed to do is let's first hide this, and then let's go back to the art. I did say we didn't finish up with him. Okay, so we're going to take the same hue and saturation we did on the sun, right? And then just drag it on top of him inside where it's clicked in, and then just on top, and then drag this out, and then add layer mask, and then make sure the layer mask is black so that we start painting where we want the filters to be. So let's just say the pressure like that, and then now let's paint. Okay, before we even paint, I think let's add more shadows now. Okay, and then let's just reduce this to 30, so something like that, something like 30. Okay, something like this. Yeah, and let's go back here, brush, and then something like that. I think something like this even here. In here, just going to like make it like so, and then in here like so. Yeah, and then let's go back now to the hue and saturation, and then I think the bag is not looking so nice here on the edges. You can see there's some like white things. I think it's not looking very clean. Let's just clean that up before I even forget, because I forget mostly. Right, and then like so. Yeah, that's nice now. That's nice. Okay, let's go back now to the image. Right, so let's paint only on the edges. Okay, only on the edges. So let's just reduce the opacity a bit. Okay, some more like here. Something like that. Something like here. Something like that. Something like here. Something like here. And then something like, yeah, I think this is nice. Something like that. And then even here. Now you paint where like you feel like it should be painted. Not even where you feel like it should be painted. but where it's supposed to be painted, okay, where it's supposed to be painted so that it looks real. So something like that. Even here, and then even this side, okay, and then even this side, and then this side, okay, and then duplicate it again, take it out, okay, don't clip it in, and then add a layer mask like so. So for this one, we're just going to like paint on the edges so it looks like it's glowing on the side, okay, so something like this makes everything looks real, I think, in my opinion. So even put it on top of the bag, I think, yeah, it will make sense. So let's just erase here, it's not making sense here, okay, and then paint it nicely like so. Yeah, reduce the opacity, okay, something like this, okay, and then you should have this. Just make it soft as possible, okay, and then you have this ready, okay, and then let's add some particles before we even close up and stuff. So let's have some particles. So let's do these particles. I think these will slap. I've been using these for the past like, I don't know if it's 9 months for all my posters, unless if it's a special poster, then I change. Mostly if you look at my designs and stuff like that, I usually use this one mostly. Yeah, for some reason I just like it because it looks different on every design. You can't even notice to say it's the same one. So I just know how to place it inside every design. So you see, so now it's making sense in its own way. Okay, and then the other thing that we need to do is add a light coming from the top down, okay, something like this, and then just center it like so, and then let's remove the stroke and then add the solid instead, and then place it like this, okay, and then the featherness should be, okay, let's press okay, and then let's increase the featherness some like here, okay, this is nice, and then just reduce it, not too much, it shouldn't be too much, okay, and then so we're going to have it behind him and in front of him and in him, okay, so it's not making sense, but it should be in him again. So him, clip it, and then reduce the opacity for both of these. So just want to say reduce the opacity like so, and then go on here, reduce the opacity again, so like so, and then double click on it. So go on blend if, and then remove it from the dark areas, like from the shadow areas, okay, something like so. Okay, and then okay, let's see, did we just remove everything? I think we just removed everything, so let's just bring it back because it's not making sense. Okay, now let's bring it back a little bit like so. Yeah, this is nice, and then let's add it like so, okay, and reduce it a little bit like so, and then you should have something like this, okay. And then let's go now on top of the filters, and then add contrast and brightness like so, and then let's open up selective colors and let's play around with the selective colors, okay, something like this, and then something like this, and something like this, yeah. And then one thing I've noticed is it's too bright. It's too bright, is like too bright. So somewhere like here, okay, this is nice. And then let's go down here, and then let's see. Okay, this is just okay. Let's reduce it a little bit like that. I don't want this to be too much. You just need it to be like shiny and stuff. Alright, and then just reduce this a little bit like that. Behind you there's a light, so these lights should be behind the chains, okay, and should be okay, I think should be behind the chains, I think. All right, something like this. And then for the last part, I think for the last part is going to merge everything. So you can add your own titles here and stuff like that, but we're not going to add any title here for now. Okay, so just merge everything, Control Shift Alt E, and then let's go inside. All right, let's go inside camera roll like that, and play around with the colors according to how you feel like. So let's just separate these so that you see the before and after. So we're just going to do something like that, and something like this. The highlights a little bit low, the shadows a little bit high, whites a little bit low, the blacks a little bit high. Let's see, okay, something like that. And then let's increase the exposure, and then let's add the texture somewhere like here. Let's have the grain here, and then let's have the highlights. Okay, the highlights, these are highlights, these curve highlights, they're very nice. They work in their own way. They're different from the ones on top there. So the blacks, the dark highlights, and the shadows, or something like that. Okay, and then let's go here, the sharpen, not too much, noise reduction like that. Okay, and then noise, color noise. The noise, when they come out, they usually have their own colors, so when you reduce it, don't reduce it all the way, the image will start looking pale. Okay, something like that. Okay, something like that. Okay, something like this. Okay, so more like here. And then these, if you want, you can use them. If you want, you don't need to use them. Okay, let's just do everything. Okay, experimenting is nice. By the way, this is not going anywhere. There's no clients to say, nah, I don't love that. Nope. Something like that. And that's too much. Okay, maybe something like here. Okay. Something like here. And finally, let's go to the color mixture, which is this one. And let's see the color mixture. Okay, I think everything is just okay. In this case, now we're going to have something like this. The other thing now we're going to do is duplicate this, convert it into a smart object, and then go on filters, and then filter gallery, and then go on path blur. So you just need to have like a very simple like motion blur. Okay, so we're going to have like path blur. Okay, we'll just hide this and then bring this out like that. Okay, and then it's going to come from here all the way, just a moment, right, all the way here, and then do something like delete that. Okay, during the grain tablets now it's having issues with, okay, something like that. The speeds, okay, something like this. Okay, and then reduce the speed so much, something like here, and let's add the center, okay, and then press OK. Yeah, all right, so we have this, and then let's just change this to screen, or let's see, let's change this to, I think, lighter color. Let's see which one works best. I think lighter color works nice, and then hide it, and then let's just paint where we need it to be. Okay, we don't need it everywhere, so just bring this up and then paint it where it's supposed to be, like so. So it's just going to give it that motion vibe, that motion vibe. And then yeah, so this is it. So this is how I usually make most of my posters. And if you have any question, you can simply ask out. If you don't have, then peace out. Thank you for watching, by the way.